When I started running, I bought and tried a lot of running gear. However, plenty of these things I now don't really use or need, and I certainly didn't need them at the very beginning of my running journey. And actually, some of these things could actually do more harm to me than good. So in this video, I want to talk about the things from the running gear which I would buy if I needed to start running again today. And I humbly believe it will help you to decide on which stuff you should focus on, and eventually where you should or could save some money when it comes to starting with running. So let's get into it. Before I dive deeper into particular things I'm going to talk about, I just want to say that I'm not an expert runner and I don't want to act like I'm know-it-all in this topic of running gear, because I'm not. I'm just sharing my honest experience as someone who's been through this quite recently. And I will link all the products in the video description. None of them are sponsored or affiliated, so feel free to check them out. But without any further ado, let's go straight to the point number one, which needs to be mentioned at the very beginning of this video and which you already know it's super important. So the first thing I would buy is proper daily shoes. The term daily shoe, or also daily trainer, is well known and used because it should fit most of your easy training runs, which you should be focusing on at the very beginning, as I really don't think you should be starting with some super fast intervals or anything like that unless you have some experience, for example, from other sports as well. So that's why I think a good pair of high quality daily shoes can do a really good job for you, and it's the place where I would not go for a compromise decision in order to save some money. Therefore, I would try to look for daily shoes from a few different brands, for example Saucony, Nike, Puma, Asics or Hoka, and you can try to look for sales of some of their better shoes out there. But how do I recognize it's a high quality shoe, you might be asking? Well, I'd really suggest you to invest your time to watch a few reviews for daily trainers from well-established runners here on YouTube, for example in your favorite brand. And then you can decide which one you're gonna go for. You will eventually find out that many people recommend the same daily trainers or similar trainers, which hundreds of thousands of runners tried out already. For me personally, I've been using Saucony Axon 3 and I have them in this blue and recently also yellow variant, and they have been absolutely great. Even for me, when I'm quite tall and heavier guy with like 92 kilograms, so they are super comfortable, and that is the most important thing when it comes to daily trainers. Because you want to feel really comfortable in your shoes before, during and after your run. One last thing to add, you can always go to a physical store and get the help and proper foot check and introduction from a shop assistant there. However, I've never done that, so I can't speak about that from my own experience. The second thing I would be considering buying is either a dedicated heart rate monitor or smartwatch. Let me explain. First of all, why it's good to track your heart rate in the first place? Well, in most cases, beginner runners, including me in the past as well, make that mistake that they run way too fast, which then eventually doesn't help their running fitness. They feel super exhausted after those runs, and it can even lead to an injury. So the absolute majority of your runs at the very beginning should be really easy, meaning in zone 2, which can be described as a running speed and effort during which you could be quite comfortably speaking to someone else, for example to your friend while you're running. But if you're not running with someone else all the time, or you want a more accurate solution, then this is the situation where knowing your heart rate and how that heart rate actually feels to your body comes in handy. Obviously, dedicated heart rate monitors, either around your chest or around your arm, are more accurate and appropriate, I would say. But in the past, I have been using my Apple Watch only because I had them already before I started running. And I would say it was good enough for me as a beginner runner, even when I knew that sometimes it can be a little bit off. So I would say there are two ways. You can either use smartwatch if you have one already, even cheaper ones than Apple Watch. Or if you don't have a watch or don't want to wear them, you can go for a chest strap, for example Polar H10, and connect it also to your phone while you're running. So you can actually see those data from a heart rate monitor. And one more last thing, some more experienced runners would say that you don't need to track your heart rate like at all, but I would slightly argue here, because I've been in that situation where I thought I was running slow and easily enough, but in reality, I really wasn't. So for me, it was really helpful to start using at least my Apple Watch and then the chest strap to track heart rate, and have more insights from my body. Because when I started running, my zone 2 running pace was around 7 minutes plus per kilometer, so it was hard to keep this pace as it almost felt like walking. But in that situation, when I added a little bit more speed, or at least in my head a little bit more speed, I was already in like 160s heart rate, so properly checking my heart rate either through my Apple Watch or the chest strap really helped me to stay grounded and also patient during my runs. As a third thing I would be looking for as part of my beginner running gear is really comfortable clothes. And it doesn't need to be running dedicated clothes, but just something you feel good at, you feel comfortable at, and some clothes that are just dedicated for some outdoor or sport activity. Because I started running in my casual shorts and t-shirt, which I used to wear to the gym at that time, and I would do the same. So I can really recommend you just wear something you feel good at, and if that means you're gonna buy a new running outfit to match colors of your shoes, then do it. I think as an important fact about all this running gear is that you can surely go and buy literally every piece of running tech, clothes or 10 pairs of shoes if that will make you happy. Like, I mean, you can think twice whether you're gonna use that thing or not, or like that many shoes, but if it will make you happy, if it will make your runs actually better and more comfortable, then do it, and then for me, it's a good investment. Since running is, or it will be your hobby, I think you should also enjoy it, and some part of that enjoyment can come from you buying and trying something new. So the whole point of this is don't take this video as a word-to-word tutorial or something like that, but rather an inspiration and my personal approach which I would take. The last thing to add to running clothes is that it's often about experimenting and trying what type of clothes work for you. So just be ready and okay with the fact that sometimes if you get recommended something from other people, for example here on YouTube, that you can find out you actually prefer something else. So just don't settle in with uncomfortable clothes for your runs. Another thing I would be definitely buying is a small sports bottle or dedicated handheld bottle which is dedicated to running specifically. The thing is that you need to stay hydrated during and also after your runs, and if you're at least partially like me, meaning you're sweating a lot when you're exercising, then I highly recommend buying some basic bottle which you can either hold in your hand, put it into your bag, pocket, or you can go for a specialized hand bottle which is more comfortable. And basically this kind of bottle is fixed in your hand, so you don't need to be worried that you're gonna lose it. I personally use just these two small very basic bottles from Decathlon, and I just grab it to my hand while I'm running. And also as I'm drinking, the bottle gets smaller and smaller, so eventually I can just put it into my pocket, which is nice. The next and really essential part of the things I would buy again if I were to start running is this anti-chafing gel. And if you're not familiar with what chafing is, then it's basically that thing on your skin which happens of the area of your body when the skin is rubbing. So usually it can be in the armpit, tights area, or even on your back if you wear a backpack on your long runs, which I do. And if that happens, then it hurts in the shower and it's also really itchy, so it's really something you really don't want to experience. And there are plenty of different gels, and I would say they are easy to buy as well. For example, I use this gel and it's been really helpful, plus it lasts really long. So it's not like you use one gel for, I don't know, 3 or 5 runs only. Not at all. I have mine for a few months already and it's been still like almost full, I would say. So if you have a little bit more sensitive skin or you think this is something you could experience during your runs too, I would highly recommend getting anti-chafing gel for you as well. P.S. If you find this one the hard way and your skin will be rubbed because you haven't used that gel, there are actually gels which will help you to heal your skin afterwards, which you can get in a drugstore. Another useful thing for my running gear I would definitely buy is a basic running backpack. So you can use it for long runs where you have a dedicated space to store all of your stuff, which comes really handy. For example, for me, I have been using this quite old bag already from Decathlon again, which allows me to bring with me some extra clothes, liquid, food, store my keys, phone, or basically anything I want to take with me. I also often take this backpack when I want to film something with my drone when I'm out there running, so it's also super convenient for me for this creation process as well. So buying a bag like this could give you this freedom when you're planning and preparing yourself for the run, especially at the beginning of your running journey when you're not really familiar with, for example, how many clothes you want to wear in particular weather, or how much water or how much food you're gonna take and how much of it you will actually consume, and so on and so forth. Last but not least thing I would be really focusing on when I would be already settling down in running is nutrition. And when I say nutrition, I don't mean just energy gels or electrolytes which you consume during your runs, but I mean focusing and working on your everyday food consumption and diet. I'm not saying it should be something crazy and you should change your schedule, like food schedule, but I would focus on at least 80% to consuming enough macronutrients coming from whole foods. Because keeping a proper and sustainable diet is great for more reasons. It will help your body composition, you will feel naturally better and more energized, and you will be fueled during and around your runs, which is super important as well. So it's not in the scale of this video to dive really deeper into nutrition, but I would encourage you to don't put running gear over your nutrition and try to educate yourself on this topic because it will pay you with great dividends in the future. Anyway, if we're talking directly about energy gels for your runs, I'm super satisfied with Go Gels, which I talk about in detail in this video right here, which I think you could find helpful as well. Thank you very much for watching this video and I'll see you next one. Cheers!